Well, did you guys catch anything?
No.
No?
It's too windy. Oh, that was a good one. I think it went over the power line.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mike with Landtrier Homestead. I have not been in front of this camera for a long time, and that's kind of what I'm here to explain. A lot has changed for Heather and Jackson and Juliet and I in the last probably 5 months. Some of the last videos you saw were mostly based on us building a campground. That was a wild experience, something I never actually thought that we would ever do or achieve. We had cleared land, we had septic systems installed, power ran, cabins built and delivered. It was a pretty big deal. And then one day, Heather and I were sitting around looking on realtor.com, not for anything serious. Was just kind of curious what was out there, and we found something. Well, let me start over. Heather found a piece of property. I was pretty reluctant to look at it because I was so focused on the campground and our current homestead that I had no desire whatsoever to even consider moving. It just sounded like it was too big of a deal, like it would have been too much. But she was persistent. She said, you've got to look at this property. This is something it was just something that stood out to her as unique. And so I gave in. I looked at it, and I bet it wasn't 15 seconds after pulling in the driveway. We knew we had to do something. That we were pretty much willing to do anything to get this new piece of land. So that started a pretty wild ride of us deciding to sell both pieces of property and shut down the camp build. So it kind of came to our realization that there was a number of reasons why we wanted to move. We always wanted to expand the homestead. Ultimately, probably just to become a farm, because I think there's a clear difference between a homestead and a farm. So we were wanting to kind of graduate from the homestead to a farm, and do something a lot bigger, something that could make us some more money, really and truly live off the land and provide for ourselves with the animals we raise and the food that we grow. And we couldn't do that where we were. We kind of felt claustrophobic, and it was hard to know that we couldn't really expand and do what we wanted. So at the last homestead, we had 10 acres. We had 2 homes and 10 acres. The goal was always to rent the smaller house out as an Airbnb. We never did get to that. We had long-term renters in it for a while. We never did get to the Airbnb status. And then the campground was a really cool idea, but ultimately it came down to the fact that the campground was not what we came to North Carolina to achieve. We left California to come to North Carolina to build a bigger and better homestead or farm. So again, after coming to this new property, our mind was made up, and within a couple of days we had both properties listed. We sold all of the cabins that we had built and delivered, and we left that 10-acre homestead and purchased a 100-acre farm. And it's not just a farm. It's a piece of land that has ponds on it. It has creeks flowing from the top of the mountain. It has pasture. The entire 100-acre property at one point was logged. It was the late 90s, it was logged. And the roads are still there, and they're still in really good shape and cleared and maintained. So you don't just have 100 acres of unusable mountainside. We have a road system throughout the entire property where we can access any part of that 100 acres at any time. One of the ponds is stocked with bluegill and catfish, and the kids have taken full advantage of that already and have spent most of the time here fishing. I see you over there. If you can see it now, there's this beautiful waterfall that comes alongside of the pond and comes down through this creek. So that's where the kids are now. They're actually up there fishing and exploring this creek back here. This transition from a 10-acre homestead to starting from scratch and building a 100-acre farm is not anything we ever thought we could achieve. When we first bought the land at the old homestead, the first house that had 9 acres with it, you'd have thought we had all the land in the world. We never owned that much land before, and it was just an unbelievable feeling to have that. But it's incredible how fast you feel claustrophobic and you outgrow something that is that size. And so there's a lot of other things going on that we kind of realized it later. There was a number of reasons beyond us feeling claustrophobic and running out of space that we wanted to leave where we were. And so it was kind of a stressful 4 months because we listed our houses right at the time the market started to drop. So we got pretty discouraged for a while because we weren't getting very many offers. It kind of just felt like it was sitting. We lowered the price a couple times. And then it's just like, it was just out of nowhere. God says, here you go. Here's a couple of people unexpectedly that want your land. And it was all within the last probably 3 weeks or 4 weeks of them being listed that both pieces of property sold. And we were able to close on the deal and move to this 100-acre farm. And it was just the best decision that we have ever made. Well,
There's something in my boot.
come here. So I'm explaining that we've left the old homestead and started a new farm. What's your favorite part about the new piece of land that we bought?
I don't know.
I could take a wild guess.
The river.
The river.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. You too? Not the pond?
No.
I thought the pond was going to be it. So this is going to be a wild journey, because this is a lot to take care of, just the 4 of us. Now I've got lots of help. I've got lots of family that's always over here helping, but we're just so excited, and cannot. It's like it's almost like it's not set in the reality of owning 100 acres and just having the freedoms to do what we can do now on this land that we couldn't do before. One thing I did forget to mention that is really, really cool. The owner we were buying from came by just before closing, and he was showing me some stuff that he felt like I needed to know. And so he started telling me a story about a pond. There was a small pond that used to be actually right down below where I'm sitting. And he said years and years ago, that pond fed into the side of the mountain into an old mine. And in that mine, in that pond, where the water was, they raised trout. So they had a trout pond that was outside, but also went under the mountain in an old mine. I think the water was dripping down from an old spring. It was filling in the mine and coming out into the pond. So we started doing some exploring, and we actually found it. We found the entrance to the old mine, and it's caved in a little. There's a lot of dirt around it, but we dug it out enough to crawl halfway in and look. And sure enough, it's filled with this beautiful crystal clear water. And so I'm going to show that to you along with the other ponds, the hunting cabin, the hunting platforms, the trails, the creeks. You're going to see it all. You're going to see all the projects, the good and the bad. And so I think we have decided to officially change the name from Lantrier Homestead to Lantrier Farm, because we are stepping it up a notch, and we're going to do things at a much bigger scale than we've ever done before. And so we're just really excited to make this announcement. I tried to keep this as brief as I could. because there's going to be a lot more coming out in future videos to show you everything about this property, to show you us fixing up the house, bringing in the new animals, and so much more. And so we just appreciate the support so far from everybody that's followed this channel. There's a lot more to come, and I promise you a lot of it's going to be like nothing you've ever seen. So with that, I will just conclude this little update video. Please, if you're watching this for the first time, like and subscribe to the channel, because there's going to be a lot of new and exciting content coming out. We have got a lot to do, and we appreciate all the support, and that's it for now. Thanks.
Hey! I can't